Day 2 of NFL offseason. Always strange, but here we are. It is Tuesday, February 11th. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. If you haven't figured this out already and maybe you're new to the program, we're year-round, baby. We are 12-1 live, partner, and we're coming up on one full year, hard to believe, of live daily content. The first week of free agency, matter of fact, the first day of free agency will mark 1 year. So we've been hearing from some of you in our DMs via emails and whatnot, asking about what to expect this offseason. So I just wanted to come right off the top, and maybe we're reiterating what you already know, but that's what to expect over the course of the next 5-6 months of offseason. So with that, today's live stream is brought to you by our friends at Mando. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside Sarah Ellison. Derrick Henry, Ravens running back, recently sat down with Cowboys star Micah Parsons on his podcast and perhaps leaked some upcoming contract news, maybe perhaps an extension in the works. So we'll have the significance of those comments coming up in just a bit. Deion Sanders spoke out for the first time about Lamar Jackson's MVP snub. Friend of the show, Jack Settleman, took on 10 Lamar haters, meaning it was 1 on 10, and much more to come over the course of the next hour. What's going on with you?
I'm just going to warn people right now, the 10 Lamar haters versus Jack is an extremely, if you're a Lamar lover and not a hater, like it's going to be very difficult to listen to. It's going to be obnoxious. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be understanding that they're not even speaking in reality. It's very interesting. So we'll get to that later on, though. Got to get to that. Let me
ask you this, though, first, because it'll be the first time that I consume it. So let me just ask you this, the little tease coming up. Knowing Jack the way that I did, the way that I do, I would think he stood his ground. Would that be correct?
He stood his ground, but he was nice.
Okay.
And so
he's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. He was like, you could see him. Like, there were a couple times he got so frustrated that he was pulling his hair literally. It's like that Homer Simpson meme where he's like goes from having hair to being bald. I was like, is Jack going to throw it all, tear out all of his hair? Whereas like it felt like, so I've seen this setup before, Bobby, with in political commentary. And what it really morphs into is like trying to dunk on one another. And Jack really wasn't trying to dunk on the other people, but it just felt like they were trying to like slap him down rather than make a point. And he never really wanted to do that in reverse. It felt like, I think one time he kind of did, but I don't put in a lot of Jack's commentary. I just figured we could rebut some of the things, but it's like a good 30, 45 minutes long of just like pure Lamar Jackson hate and Jack trying to stand his ground from 10 different people. Yeah.
Attaboy. I spent a lot of time with him on Radio Row last week. So it was, I'm very, very curious to see how he handled this. So that'll be coming up in just a bit, but we begin with something that you've prepared, and that is Derrick Henry's recent sit down with Micah Parsons.
Yeah. So this is after the NFL honors, and I believe, before the Super Bowl, but he was on stage there in New Orleans, where I know you were at all week, with Micah Parsons, and he talked about his future quite a bit. And as we know, following Derrick, when he's with the media, he's not very expressive. He's not usually very open. He just kind of wants to get his media obligations over with, and he wants to get back to work, right? But he was there for the event. He knew media was part of it, plus being with the fellow player in Micah Parsons, I felt like he was a little bit open. Where they started is from the news from ESPN, from Diana Rossini, who had tweeted from the NFL Honors red carpet that Derrick Henry said that he wanted to retire a Raven. Well, Derrick wanted to clarify that a little bit and explain. He felt like Diana kind of took him out of context a little bit.
The year RB with NFL performances, you, Saquon, Josh.
Hold on, wrong one. Let me get it.
You want to retire a Raven. What made Baltimore so special to you? Why do you love it so much?
Yeah, that kind of got taken out of context. Like you said, media. Mm-hmm. My words was I wanted to finish my career in Baltimore. So, like, I want this to be my last stop. I'm not trying to go to another team, once it's all said and done. Now, I want to finish my career in Baltimore. Now, as far as, like, where I want to retire, that's still to be determined. It could be Baltimore, could be Tennessee. So,
like a 10-day, like,
it's still to be determined.
So, you did a 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna finish it? You got more You play him a couple more years?
Yes, I want to continue to play. I love Baltimore, man. I feel like they gave me like a rejuvenation, just being there, being around them, being around the organization. I love it from top to bottom. It's a first-class organization for sure.
So you how many more years you got for us?
I don't know until I feel like it's time to hang it up, man. But just know you can be seeing me for a little while, though.
I'm actually happy that you had the year. I was telling somebody last night, it was like, you happy? Are you upset that Derrick Henry didn't come to Dallas? I said, nah, that's not how God worked. He was exactly where he was supposed to be.
Exactly.
Year 8, 9 of his career, still going for 1,800 yards, playoffs. He was exactly where he's supposed to be.
Look at that crowd. Look at that in-person crowd right there for those two.
It's funny because in the middle of it, when he was like, I could retire Tennessee, I could retire Baltimore, you hear the crowd yelling out, like trying to convince him, oh, Tennessee, oh, Baltimore a little bit there. So, but yeah, there is a difference. And I mean, I can see how maybe Diana got it wrong, but there is a big difference. Like to retire a Raven or a Titan, like you go and have the retirement press conference, like it's all ceremonial, right? You're just giving a hat tip to one of the two franchises. And so he's like, no. I said I want to finish with the Ravens, not necessarily retire with the Ravens. So that decision hasn't been made yet. And Bobby, I'm guessing we can both kind of assume what could maybe sway him to retire a Raven over a Titan. He was drafted by the Titans, was there for years and years and years. He's been here for 1 year. I would think it's whether or not he wins the Super Bowl with Baltimore.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it was 7 or 8 years to be exact with Tennessee. And while it was an amazing to what he referred to, I believe, was it rejuvenation? Is that the word that he used? It was kind of muffled there in the middle part of the interview, but I believe he said something along the lines of he felt like this year in Baltimore was rejuvenating. And that's the way that I interpreted it. And so even if that's the case, and even if he did have over 1,900 rushing yards and just a tremendous historic season, it is 1 year. And there's obviously still a lot left to accomplish. And obviously we hope that this tandem, this duo gets to the mountaintops the way, Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts was able to do, 48 hours ago. But so I guess there's 3 takeaways from that opening clip. You have him feeling like his words were taken out of context, which could very well be like, hey, I want to finish my career in Baltimore, but I ultimately feel a certain type of loyalty to the team that drafted me that I maybe end up signing a 10-day contract with when it's all said and done. The rejuvenation part. And then what was the third one? There towards
wanting to
end.
finish in Baltimore, though.
Yeah. So that's a lot. I mean, that was pretty meaty first clip there for Derrick.
And there's more.
Who, to your point, is typically very tight-lipped, which is why when these player-to-player interviews happen, you got to watch it thoroughly.
Totally. 100%. And I just want to give a small shout out to Micah, because for Micah, for him, selfishly, I'm sure he would have loved Derrick in Dallas, and everybody last offseason was talking about how that would be the perfect fit because that's where he lives. And no, God doesn't make any supposed to be. And we've been saying all year that that it, or at least for me, it feels like he's even been a Raven longer than just 1 year, more just because it feels like he was born to be in purple. He just fits this organization so well. And it is funny, later on, he joked because Dallas came up again and why that didn't happen. He's like, shoot, Jerry's got my number blocked in his phone. Like he didn't even didn't even seem like there was even like a desire from their end, but Henry obviously is in the place that he wanted to be. So then he started talking a little bit more, or Micah did, and I accidentally just closed out the wrong video. Here it is. Micah starts talking about the running back market and how it's depressed. So they were talking about the market and money. And this is where he may have listen, it's not like it's the biggest leak in the world. We're all assuming that he's going to get an extension, but we don't know that, right? We're guessing that that's going to happen based off of how he played, based that there's only 1 more year, based on the fact that they could use the money because if they give him an extension, his cap will actually go down in 2025. So we're all assuming that it's going to happen, but he may have leaked that it may have already begun.
Like the year RB with NFL performances, you, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs. it was just like as soon as everyone was like running backs not important, running backs value went low. I heard about the group chat.
Yeah.
And then boom, 2,000, 1,800, 1,500, 1,400, 1,900. My fault. It just seemed like y'all just went out of this earth. Do you think y'all bring the market back up? Do y'all where's the running back market going now?
I hope it bring it back up. Like you just said, like you got guys. I think Saquon 2. I ran for 19. Bijan damn near had 2,000 yards, all purpose. I mean, and Jameer. Jameer almost had 2,000 yards all purpose. Bijan had a good year. Joe Mixon missing like 4 or 5 games, still going over 1,000. Had like 6 or 7 or 8 100-yard rushing games. Josh Jacobs. I mean, let's go on and on and on. We didn't show our value this year, and I don't even know what to say, but we definitely wanted to bring that spotlight back to the position, show our value, show how important our role is to a team. And speaking of Saquon having a hell of a year, so that don't show you, man. I don't know what else to say.
Respectfully, I'm not gonna lie. Y'all additions help transform teams.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
GMs, wake up. Let's get them running backs back on the market.
Wake up.
I always look at it as,
there we go. Yeah, man, clap. We need some clap, man. Clap for the RBs. We need some love. It was getting bad for us, bro. We was like kind of in the same market as the kickers.
oh wow.
The kickers get the same. I'm like, oh man, come on now. Y'all doing us too bad.
Yeah,
no,
kicker is outrageous.
That's what I'm telling you, bro.
Top kicker market is around $7 million a year.
That's what I'm telling you. So we was in that same market. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
oh, no.
That's actually disgusting that she put it like that. I mean, and it's crazy because the linebacker market for inside is around 20 million.
Yeah, bro. It's bad. But Christian got paid last offseason, which that helped some, and hopefully this year some guys will be able to get paid. And
you think you're gonna re-up the money like they did
hopefully
Christian?
your boy be up or something.
That was it at the end. Are you gonna get new money? He said your boy is here. Let me rewind here. Let me bring that back up real quick. Let's see here. Just the end of it. Your boy be up to something is what I think he said at the end there.
Well, let me tell you. Let's pull this back up, and we got some breaking news as this is happening.
Oh boy.
Bad.
Well, let's
Christian
pause.
got paid last offseason, which that helped some, and
Let's pause. Should we get to the news?
Well, it's just perfect segue. I mean, Ian Rappaport just confirmed what we already kind of have been suggesting here, and that is that the Ravens and Derrick Henry are expected to begin extension talks. So there you have it. And I tell you what,
so we don't even need to replay it. Like, that's hilarious because to me, he kind of leaked it. He's like, your boy be up to something when he's asking, are you going to get the new money? He's like, your boy's up to something. And right on cue, Ian Rappaport, they're going to have an extension. That is hilarious.
And I got to tell you, this is really funny. You're going to appreciate this. So
okay.
Ian obviously is a friend of the show. We brought him on during the offseason of Lamar's contract and Odell's ultimate signing with the Ravens. And was that the offseason? Am I thinking of the right offseason? I think I am. Because I ran into him at Preakness in Baltimore, and we caught up, and he agreed to come on the show. The last 2 radio rows, we've run into him. And when I say we, it was me this year, and then you and me last year. And Ian is always the coolest. Like, he's down to chat. He's down to hang out and whatnot. But he was really elusive with me this year. Like, and so what's interesting, when I did pull him aside and invite him on, I ripped off a couple topics real quick of what I wanted to talk about. One of which, of course, the headliner of the 3 or 4 topics that you and I discussed was this. And I'm just wondering if maybe, just maybe, he wanted to kind of protect what he maybe knew was coming, and which he's totally obligated to do as an NFL insider for what was maybe ahead this week. And so anyway, he just on NFL Network made this public that the Ravens and Derrick Henry are set to begin contract extension talks. So that is your breaking news, and it's a perfect, obviously, timing here on this Tuesday noon hour as we literally talk about it right now.
Literally, the timing couldn't get any better. And Bobby, I want to dig into this a little bit of what a new contract extension might look like. So just as a refresher, when he signed with the Ravens last March, he signed a 2-year deal that was worth about $8 million per year. Okay. And the Ravens backloaded that deal. Okay. So he had a $5.1 million cap hit in 2024. That jumps to almost $13 million in 2025. So that's just the financial reason alone to extend him. But the football reason behind that, obviously, we all saw it was on display. And he made sure he corrected Micah. If you didn't notice, Micah tried to say he had 1,800. He's like 1,900. And if the Ravens wanted to force the issue, he obviously could have hit 2,000. They were using him sparingly early in the season. So that's where he's at. He's at about $8 million per year. So what could a new contract extension look like? Well, Brian McFarland of Russell Street Report at Raven Salary Cap on Twitter, or X, he already kind of put out what he thinks that contract could look like. So he sees a 2-year extension. So that means that you would have him locked up in Baltimore for 3 more years, 2025, 26, and 27. 2-year extension, 2-year, $24 million extension, which he says could reduce his 2025 cap hit, which I just showed you is just under 13 million, by as much as 5 million. So you do some math there, that's around 8 million plus that they get him to could get him to instead of just under 13 million. So that's what he's kind of looking at. Now that would be, like I said, his past contract was worth about 8 million per year. This would get him 2-year, $24 million extension. That's 12 million per year. So the Ravens would be upping him by 4 million per year. And as we heard in that clip from Derrick Henry, they're trying to get the market back up. So if he were to be getting 12 million per year, he's right there in the top 5, tied with the top 5. So he mentioned Christian McCaffrey, and that helped bring it up. Christian McCaffrey's average is 19 million per year. Then Jonathan Taylor of the Colts at 14 million. Then Saquon Barkley, who also was, a bit of a bargain. He was at 12.5 million. Alvin Kamara, 12.2. And then Josh Jacobs right there at 12. So what the Ravens would be saying with the deal, like what Brian McFarland is saying, is that, yeah, we see you as a top 5 running back, even though you're, 30 and over. So most of these guys, I don't know how old Christian McCaffrey is, but most of these guys, Alvin seems like he might be getting up there. But some of these top guys are a bit younger. Saquon's a few years younger, not a ton. So the one thing I just as a devil's advocate, if you don't mind for a second here.
McCaffrey turns 29 in June, to answer your question.
Okay. How long ago did he get that deal? Do you know?
The current one he's on?
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up.
Okay. So first I want to say I 1000% agree with Derrick. When the running back market started to hit kicker money level, then it's like, okay, we're going a little too far here. I mean, these guys are putting their bodies on the line. They're getting hit every single play. Everybody all defensive players are coming at them. I mean, it's just, they should be paid more than kickers. That being said, Micah Parsons said that all the running backs had transformed their teams. This is where I at least in the Derrick Henry, the Derrick Henry and Ravens kind of marriage. Listen, obviously Derrick Henry is the best running back that has been next to Lamar Jackson. And Lamar's had some, he's had Mark Ingram. He's had J.K. Dobbins when he was a rookie, obviously much before his injury. Keaton Mitchell before his injury. But I mean, this is a future Hall of Famer. So obviously this is by far the best running back Lamar Jackson has had next to him. That being said, it was overstated, especially in the MVP conversation, of Derrick Henry's impact on the team. And I felt like that was an overstatement from Micah Parsons. Like, the Ravens have always been a number 1 rushing offense when Lamar Jackson has been the quarterback. Lamar Jackson has that impact on all these running backs. And it's Lamar Jackson who helped resurge. Like we talked about how it was a resurgent season. It was the second best. Was it the second best or best average yards per carry this year? I can't remember what it was. He was either first or second, but certainly much better than his previous like three or 4 years going back to 2019. And so I want this extension with Derrick Henry. I think he's worth the extension, and I'm fine with him being paid among the top 5 of running backs. I just feel like his impact and his quote-unquote transformation on the Ravens isn't the same as what Saquon Barkley had on the Eagles, for example, right? Where they went all the way. So, and I just feel like that transformation was overstated in many ways to diminish Lamar Jackson's MVP bid.
Derrick finished with 5.9 per carry and 1,921 rushing yards. So
what was his average in 2019? Is it right there?
Derrick's in 2019?
Yeah, because I believe that was his best year.
His 2,000 yard year was 2020. Not to say that 2019 wasn't exceptional as well.
What's his highest yards per carry? Which year? His
highest yards per carry is far and away this year.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So,
and everybody keeps talking about him. And again, this is such a slippery slope because like I said, Derrick Henry is the best running back that has been next to Lamar Jackson, and I want the extension. And at the same time, the Ravens went to the AFC Championship last year without him and advanced the divisional round this year. So I just feel like saying that he transformed the team, and I know Micah was talking more about all the running backs. I just feel like it's overstated.
2020, 2,027 rushing yards, 5.4 yards per carry on 378 carries. 2024, he had less carries this past season, obviously, when you have that kind of backfield with Lamar and the way that they were conservative with him early on usage-wise. 325 carries, 1,921 rushing yards for an average of, like I said, 5.9, which is the best in his career. So hit the previous bests were 2020 and 2019, where he had 5.4 and 5.1 respectively.
Okay.
So it was a transform, to use a word that we used for Lamar a lot this year. It was pretty transformative for Derrick as well.
Right. I think they helped each other. Like there were times Lamar even said, man, I just love being able to hand it off to him and then he can go. Like there were a couple games like that was just like Derrick Henry. Right. Yeah. But I can say this, Lamar's numbers since his rookie year until 2024 continually go like this. Right. Whether Derrick Henry has been here or not. Whereas Derrick was like this and then started to go down, and then he comes to the Baltimore and it goes back up.
And there's no greater beneficiary to your point. There's no greater beneficiary to Lamar's greatness than running backs have enjoyed year after year after year in that offense.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the next thing with Derrick Henry and Micah Parsons here, is Micah started asking about, like, do you think that you could run back-to-back seasons for 2,000 yards again? Derrick answers that and then takes this conversation elsewhere.
I was hoping you get that back-to-back 2K.
I know,
that
bro.
2K.
I know,
2Ks.
I know, me too.
You think it's still possible?
Hell yeah. Anytime I suit up, I think I can run for 2K every year. Just depends on how the year go. But the gold jacket, is always a goal as far as, being a player. But I try not to think about it. I don't really get too caught up in it because there's so much more I want to accomplish. So hopefully at the end when I hang it up.
The Super Bowl is the last thing that you need?
I want the Super Bowl. I got to have it, bro.
That's the last thing.
That's
the missing piece.
That's the missing piece.
You got the offensive player of the years. I mean,
that's the missing piece. I need it, bro. I need it. I'm going to be depressed if I don't get it. I got to get a Super Bowl. Please. Lord, right now, please. If you hear me.
I hate to do this to you, dog.
Don't.
You got to do what Shady did.
I'm not doing that. What you mean, like, you talking about when he joined? No, bro, I'm not doing that. I can't. I'm not doing it, cuz. No.
I hate to say it.
No. I can't. No, bro. No.
Yeah, sometimes I always say, if you can't beat them, join them.
No, I'm not. Not at all.
Listen to this.
I'm playing with a quarterback I always wanted to play with, so.
Hold on. I'm going to tell you.
You said, I'll go to the Eagles here, exactly.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you right now. In the next 4 or 5 years, once I hit that 30, and I'm not where I need to be, if that ring not right here fitted,
Bobby, could you imagine being a Dallas Cowboys fan and the star of your team? Like, I mean, he's not as big as Lamar, but he's the star of their team, or Dak. If Lamar is like, listen, I'm telling you right now, when I hit 30, if I don't have a ring, I'm out of here. Like, Ravens fans' hearts would like drop. They would just be like, just drop. The fact that he's like, I'm just letting Dallas know now, if you don't give me a ring, I'm gone. Whereas Derrick's like, not going to happen. What's funny though, is I feel like obviously the Ravens haven't won it yet, but him being in Baltimore puts him in that way more into the Super Bowl conversation than it ever did in Tennessee, minus 2019 when they obviously destroyed the Ravens in the playoffs. But
yeah.
I mean, thinking back over the years of his entire career, yeah, he's more in the conversation now than he was in Tennessee.
I think there's two things we need to acknowledge here.
Okay.
First of all, that clip was pure comedy.
Right?
That's where I want to start. Micah enjoys clowning around on his podcast. So not sure if that was fully genuine, but clearly
I believe him.
Maybe. The second thing you have to acknowledge is that he's been a Dallas Cowboy throughout his entire NFL career.
Yeah.
One player on that Bleacher Report set is knocking on the dang door. The other's not knocking on any door, because as far as I'm concerned, Dallas continues, especially with some of their offseason hires, by the way. I could be wrong with Schottenheimer as their newest head coach with no experience prior, aside from play calling. But that to me seemed pretty peculiar, along with some of the other moves that they've made this offseason. And really, they have not been competitive more often than not. They've had some very, very above average regular seasons since Micah joined the team, but they haven't knocked on the playoff door considerably the way that the Ravens have, especially the last 2 years. I know Derrick was only a part of one of the last two runs that they've made in the postseason. So, yeah, maybe he was telling the truth now that I think about it, because he has not been able to even find a door to knock on, much less knock at all.
Although I got to tell you, like, Micah if Micah wants to go shopping, does he want to come join Lamar and Derrick over here? Like, let's go. I don't know if I need all those. I don't know if I need his podcast all the time. That would be a media circus, but put him right next to Roquan.
Be good for us.
Sure.
Be awfully good for us. The third thing I have to acknowledge.
But I don't like the distraction for the team, though. I can't put our show above that.
Listen, if there's one thing that I'm so jealous of, and I'm always reminded of it when I share a table on Radio Row with our friend Jake Asman, who covers the Jets, it's the sideshow circus that he gets every year that he takes advantage of, right? When Aaron is on with McAfee every Tuesday, when you've got players that have their own show up and down the roster, it's like an overabundance of content. The Ravens are too buttoned up for all that. But the last thing that we got to acknowledge too, and it goes without saying, how refreshing is that to hear from Derrick? You think I'm going to go in and essentially get a charity type of Super Bowl title before it's all said and done? Right. Oh, I understand who I am. I'm a first ballot future Hall of Famer. I'm somebody who's an ascending player at 31 and somebody who didn't feel like I could get to the mountaintop with the team that I was drafted by. Mm-hmm. And so I took an opportunity to go to Baltimore when I had other chances to go elsewhere, maybe for more. And I joined the Ravens because of Lamar Jackson, as he said in the past. And so, make no mistake about it. That's a refreshingly honest take that I think shows his competitive spirit and the respect that he has for the game right there.
And Bobby, you'll notice he said, I'm already playing with the quarterback I want to be with. That was like his main reason he put out there, that he's like, no, I'm not going ring shopping, like, because he used LaShawn McCoy as the example. McCoy went to the Chiefs and the Bucks and got a ring with both of them. So you could take that route, but Henry wants to build something with Lamar here. And then this is my last clip from the interview. This is him talking about what it's like to play with Lamar.
You're playing with Lamar.
Yeah.
What would you say, because you spent your time in Tennessee, what makes Lamar Marvelous? Like, what was it like playing with him this year? Like,
I think I said earlier this year, like I was speaking to the media, I was like the stats, and they don't know what you finna do.
Yeah.
He turned around, he stiff on, you think he getting down, he back up. I'm like, oh, what the hell? So you get yourself caught just watching them. You like, oh shit, I gotta try to get the ball.
Y'all remember free for all as a kid? They just like he out there playing free for all, like he just can't get tackled, like he just boom, 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 boom.
And it's so funny because like we'll watch film,
backyard play.
We'll watch film, and L will be scrambling. And then, coaches get on the me while we're watching film because everybody else moving around trying to get up, and I'm just sitting there just watching what are you about to do? 'Cause that's just how he is, bro. That's how he plays. It's like backyard football with him.
That's classic. You become a fan instead of a teammate because you're just like, I just got to watch this. And it's like, oh, shoot, I should still be looking for work right now.
How many years and years have we heard from offensive linemen that have played in protecting Lamar over the years? I just sat down with Justin Pugh on my personal channel, who's a former Giants and Cardinals offensive lineman, and now he's getting in his media career started. And he and I sat down for 15, 20 minutes on Radio Row, and I talked. I don't even think I asked him about it. It just comes up unprompted. He's like, I don't know how offensive linemen, you don't train to play with Lamar. Like you aren't taught to play with players like Lamar because he's one of one. So
OBJ said the same thing. There's there's a learning curve for sure to it.
For sure.
And by the way, I messed up. I didn't put a screen grab over that game copy there. I'll do it on the back end. I'll blur it. I don't want to get hit with the copyright. I meant to put a screen grab over that.
I saw it. We may have eaten one on that one, but hey,
I'll get it on the back end.
It's all good.
No, but these two together, I mean, the respect they have for one another, the love that they have for one another. There was that quote at the end of the season where Derrick Henry said that, he came here looking for a teammate like Lamar Jackson, but in the end found a brother. And then, he's there at NFL honors, hoping he was going to win MVP. They had that MVP conversation, but they didn't say anything more than what we've said, which is how do you vote one guy first team all pro, and then, that guy isn't the MVP or whatnot. So they talked about that, but I love their relationship both on and off the field for sure. Yeah. So should we get some super chats, then we'll get on to these Lamar haters once we just had all that love from Derrick Henry?
We should, but first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Mando. And if you're looking to get your body odor in check, you want to enhance your hygiene, a great place to start is checking out Mando's starter pack. It's perfect for new customers that maybe are looking to just get started. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and the deodorant wipes, free shipping on top of that. And as a special offer for our subscribers, our audience, our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack by using our exclusive code. That's just VAULT, VAULT. It equates to over 40% off your starter pack in total. So again, you can use code VAULT, VAULT, and visit our specific unique URL, which you're looking at right now on the screen. It's mandopodcast.com/vault. You can try the starter pack by clicking here, again, kind of toggling through to take a look at what they have to offer. I brought a lot of these products with me on the road to New Orleans last week just because of the fluid ounce amount. It allows me to bring it in a carry-on bag and not have to check an entirely separate bag. So for me, it's mobile, it's easy to use, it's got you smelling good. I like the bourbon leather, the body wash. So anyway, I know your teens in your household have been using some of these products, and I know some of our audience have as well, who've been reaching out to us since we started partnering up with Mando this offseason. So if you want to visit the site, you can click on the link that we have included in the show notes. It's also a pinned comment right now in the live chat. And we want to say thank you once more to Mando for the opportunity to work with them as our offseason officially gets underway here in Baltimore and beyond. And with that, let's get to some super chats. Daryl Walton started us off at the beginning of the show, and he wrote, the league had to return the integrity back to the refs, kept the flags in pockets in the bowl. Chiefs exposed as mediocre. It was very refreshing. Aside from that opening couple plays, there were a couple head scratchers, one of which was on A.J. Brown, but it was not a flag happy performance at all from the officials. So you got to give them credit where credit is due, Daryl, for sure. Dreams.
Hollywood Brown is the first former Raven to not win a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Terrell Suggs won, Brian Williams won, Orlando Brown Jr. won.
What did Marquise finish with? Only a couple catches, right? He was held.
He
Obviously,
nobody on offense did much though, outside of Worthy.
Yeah. Dude, Sarah, Xavier Worthy, and that deep shot from 50 out, Mahomes dropped it in the bucket, and Worthy, the concentration and the contested catch ability was exceptional. That he proved to be worthy of that top first round draft selection that he got right after the Ravens pick last year. If you remember, he finished with 8 receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, targeted 8 times. As for Marquise, 2 for 15 on 6 targets. So tough night for Hollywood, but got his opportunity to obviously to play in his first Super Bowl. Tinsay writes, easier to get Crosby than Miles. Jags, RG, FA, draft cornerback. Right guard, free agent. What's that?
It looks like his offseason blueprint, yeah?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tinsay. And Milo G25.
Do y'all think we're going to lose Zay Flowers for Micah Parsons? He's really good, but the Ravens ate. I think he means Ravens are really bad finding a receiver and holding on to them. Should the Ravens pull the trigger on that deal? Where is this coming from?
Bleacher Report, one of the offseason scenarios. I know exactly what he's talking about.
To me.
I know exactly what he's talking about, Milo. It's that time of year where you got to be really mindful of what you're clicking on because we're getting into the dead of offseason, and so
Bleacher Report will put out hundreds of trade scenarios throughout the offseason. Yes. Because they do like a top 5 list, and several writers do it, and then whoever finds it, they see the Ravens one and they do this. I'm not playing that game.
Correct.
Yeah.
Diamond Bowl, random unrelated thought. When they minimize Lamar and highlight Allen next season, quote, Allen is the oldest MVP QB in the league to never win a Super Bowl. Getting out in front of what he thinks is coming up through the media next year. And another one from Diamond Bowl.
Micah asking questions to Henry to see if going to the Ravens is the move. Hey, what's your job like? How much do you make? You like your boss?
Isaiah, Flock Nation should do a favorite play or moment this year episode. Okay. Appreciate it. By the way, I was considering, and this is just totally something you and I will talk about off the air, but I was thinking about potentially putting together a State of the Ravens, an annual State of the Ravens entering the offseason. So perhaps that's something that you and I start brainstorming. But I don't know why I just thought of that, but it was just a shower thought earlier. And that brings us to
real
Jack
quick.
Settlement.
Yeah, well, real quick. I just want to answer this question. Even though it's not a
You ready to suit up? Let's get it.
Is Sarah wearing shoulder pads today? I'm just asking with the shrug shoulders emoji. Yeah, no, it's just puffy. Let me see where the best. It's just puffy. Yeah. You ever like go in your closet, Bobby, and you're like, what should I wear today? And you're like going through, and then you're like, oh, I forgot this shirt was in here. And I'm going to put it on today. That was today's outfit decision.
It has happened before, but I probably don't look as dazzling as you do today. I mean, that is dazzling.
I'll take dazzling.
That's a legitimate outfit. You're looking sharp. Yeah, you're looking sharp.
Okay.
That's dazzling is the first that comes to mind because you look the black nature of it looks like you're ready to go to a ball or something.
Because there's some gold to it, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's like a New Year's look almost, maybe.
Yeah.
But
you know where you'd fit in perfectly?
Where's that?
Matter of fact, and man, I'm just like, can you tell that I have all these like memories flowing from my week in New Orleans? You would be perfect at a jazz ensemble, a high-end jazz ensemble. You'd look the part, maybe like a speakeasy type fashion where the lights are dimmed. You're in there looking like $1 million. I think it'd be perfect.
You know what? Like I'd like to do. I'm always into those like those shows from England, like The Crown or Downton Abbey or whatever. I want to go to a ball in like a really old like castle or palace or whatever they have over there and have like a string quartet. And I want to go with my husband and I want to do those balls where we all dance in unison. That's what I want. Can I am I asking too much here? Just
sounds like an exceptional way to spend your off season at some point. Absolutely.
Or I could just put this on and suit up, right? I'll go.
Or that. That's what we all want to see.
Somebody said I could take Marcus Williams' spot. Well, Marcus Williams will hit harder than me, and that's obviously saying something from what happened this year. Okay, one more thing before we get to the Lamar haters. Are you sure Ian Rappaport just broke that news? Because I just went to his Twitter page. I see nothing. I Googled it, and I saw nothing. Where did you see it?
Believe it was on NFL Network, and it has not been tweeted because Ravens Nation Live was watching. Yep.
Okay. That makes more sense. Not to question you. I was just trying to figure out what's going on here. I'm like, what? Because during the break, I went to go retweet it, and I was like, I can't find it anywhere.
Well, to be honest with you, as I was kind of double checking to make sure that it had been, I first started before I shared it while you were talking about something else of looking, and it just hasn't come up. So that means it was an NFL Network live hit, I'm guessing, that's either making its way to the timeline or what was just said and it was said in passing. And because of maybe it's a perfect storm because Kellen Moore was just introduced as the next New Orleans Saints head coach. So I would think that takes precedent over a Derrick Henry extension.
Tila's in here trying to start a fight between us. Come on, Tila. She said she calls you a liar, Bobby.
Fighting between you and me, it's going to take a lot more than that.
Absolutely. Okay. I just want to know where it was so I could retweet it. But anyway, on to the Lamar haters. Okay. Fair warning. If you don't like this, like you're like, so what I did, Bobby, I didn't put most of Jack's responses in here because I felt like we could maybe rebut some of them ourselves. But if you want to go see Jack's, rebuttals and all of that, you guys can go check it out. So we know you're messing, Tila. I grabbed 3 different clips that I thought were just bad of what they were saying about Lamar. So we'll start with this one. A young lady who claims that other players don't respect Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson be the best player in the NFL when he's got 2 quarterbacks in just the AFC that don't even respect him. His peers don't respect him because if you caught the hot mic, it was the 11th of November. You had Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes post-game talking about how they were going to see each other in the AFC Championship game. I'm sorry, but doesn't Lamar Jackson also play in the AFC?
He does.
So among peers.
So they don't respect him?
They were counting on playing each other in the AFC Championship game. When your Lamar Jackson's Ravens, were expected to make the playoffs as well. They were totally discounting him. So he doesn't have any respect among his peers.
Lamar Jackson's probably one of the most respected players amongst his peers. You ask there was actually a fan.
I guess I did leave in some Jack stuff. Okay, here we go.
There was a player survey that said who's the most overrated player in the NFL, and it was Josh Allen.
Not to mention the Players Association unanimously voted. But,
you cut out for a second. What'd you say?
Well, not to mention that the Players Association named him their MVP this year.
Yeah, they had their all pros and they put Lamar first team all pro.
Not to mention every single week when part of our, in-season agenda items for content is to check in with the opposite team, which is typically what I do for us, and listen to their press conference. Every single defensive coordinator, every single standout defensive player unloads their unrelenting, never-ending, endless respect levels for Lamar. But maybe she hasn't watched those clips.
Yeah, no, this one was probably the most wild claim. Like, there's some stuff that it's like, there's the biggest knock on Lamar is that, right, you're not like going to the Super Bowl. You haven't won the Super Bowl. It's the playoffs and whatever, even though he's turning the playoff corner. I mean, he's certainly in the last 2 years been better in the playoffs. But like, I literally dropped my jaw where I was like, your claim is that players don't respect him, and your evidence is that 2 players said, hey, I'll see you again, which they say so often. They say so often. Like Lamar and Mahomes played week 1, so maybe they didn't say it there. And then he played Josh Allen week 4. Like, it's like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say that, and sometimes it'll come true and sometimes it won't. Like, do I think that in that moment they were like discounting the chance that the Lamar could be there? No, they're just trying to be respectful to one another. Like, that is bananas. So much so that like players are angry that the NFL celebrates the Associated Press All-Pro instead of the players All-Pro. I cannot tell you how many players have been like, this is ridiculous that the media gets to do this. Why wouldn't you do peers? So you had, I didn't pull it, but Micah Parsons is like, it's crazy. He's like, we should be voting on it. I went against Lamar, not the media. Like, I went against him. And Torrey Smith talked about how many NFL players were like, this is crazy. Later on in the show, we have a clip from Deion Sanders, a former player, probably the hottest, biggest name coach right now in all of football, not just pros, put in college. Obviously, he's not a GOAT yet. That belongs to like the Andy Reids and the Bill Belichick's of the world. But it's like, I cannot tell you how player after player after player always put Lamar up on the pedestal. And so the fact that she said that while cherry picking a quick exchange between these two quarterbacks was insane to me. Absolutely insane.
Oh, it's flirting with on the line of not even being worthy of a response, to be honest.
No, it was probably why like he stayed calm and he's like,
it's so it shows such a lack of awareness that it actually begs the question if it's a parody skit. I mean, it does give you that impression.
Well, it's definitely why I won't get so I definitely get hype when I hear MVP voters saying stuff that I think is wrong about Lamar. And I do that because I know that they have, they're saying that to a large audience and they have a vote. And these MVP votes have an impact on their legacy. It has an impact on their Hall of Fame. It has an impact on all of that. So like I get more hyped. I can't get as hyped for these guys because as you listen to them, it's just like they just don't know. Like that was such and I'm sure she's a fine person, but that was such an ignorant comment to make by taking a 2-second clip versus the heavy evidence that goes the other way that like I don't know any players that respect him more. How about Houston Texans head coach, his name is
DeMeco Ryans. Him saying, okay, I went up against both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and to me, it's Lamar Jackson for MVP. Easy. Like didn't even hesitate. Like it was just one of those, it just felt like an ignorant comment. So here's another one that's really bad. Really, really bad.
That he will never get there is because he has all of the things you can't teach. He has talent. He has that it factor, that X factor that you really can't teach. But I just feel like he's not taking care of the stuff you can teach, like learning the book, checking out all your reads before you decide that you're going to run for it. And I think it matters way more to him to prove that you can be a top 10 quarterback of his style than it is to concede a little bit, learn some reads, learn some plays in order to take that team to the Super Bowl. I think it's more important to him personally to prove all those doubters wrong, that he should have been a wide receiver or whatever, than it is to take his team and lead his team to the Super Bowl, which he needs to be considered for that top 10 conversation. Yeah. Do you think that he could stand to be a little bit more cerebral when it comes to running the huddle and being the leader of the team in the huddle, rather than being like, physically, I'm going to get it done for you?
I don't think he's just like a go out and do it guy, personally.
Well, to quote the young to the late, great Brittany Murphy in Uptown Girls, fundamentals are the building blocks of fun. And everyone will say that he is having so much fun, but I just don't feel like he's trying hard enough to study and take care of it. I just don't see that from him.
Bobby, she for sure is not watching the Ravens. That was bad. There were so many bad comments in there.
This is as I mentioned in the top, this is first time I've consumed this, and it will certainly be the first and the last.
Yeah.
that is for sure. I mean, it's honest. Like I said, becoming increasingly motivated to almost not feel like this is worthy of answering. It's or rebutting. It's insanity.
It's not worthy, but just so it doesn't stand to go unchallenged, I'll go ahead and do it. First of all, where she claims that he's trying to prove that he can win with this style, as in, a true dual threat quarterback. If anything, if you could accuse him of trying to prove anything, It's that he was trying to prove that he was a passer, and that's why his mom had to call him and curse him out after that Eagles game, asking him to run more. And what was the biggest knock at him on him after the AFC Championship game? It's run more. So if you had to go one way or the other, it would be that one. But on top of it, he really isn't trying to prove that over winning a Super Bowl. He has said time and time and time again, he will do whatever it takes to win. And when everybody keeps going back to this elementary binary, like, oh, do you need to run more? Do you need to pass more? Forth between that. So game plan where the defense wants to shut down the run, then he will pass. And then if their game plan is to shut down the pass, then he will run. And if anything, he just remember he had to be chewed out by his mom for not running enough. So that was terrible. Then she started talking about reads. Are we talking about like 2018 when they put him in on the fly and they didn't have an offense built around him yet? Like, are we going back to 2018, Lamar? Like, are we also talking about the Greg Roman era when there wasn't a sophisticated passing game, according to Steve Young, according to Steve Smith Sr., who blasted Greg Roman for not putting in a professional NFL late level of a passing game with reads and all that kind of stuff? Are we talking about a Greg Roman era where he wouldn't empower Lamar Jackson to make audibles and calls at the line of scrimmage, whereas Todd Monken has? Are we talking about the Lamar Jackson, I mean, who has destroyed blitzes when at one time it used to, like, especially in the Greg Roman era, it used to like stop him? Like, what are we talking about? How about all the times where people are like, again, in the AFC Championship game, run, Lamar, run. And he would sit back there going not only through all of his reads, but asking them to continue to run and make those reads on the fly that weren't even like, it's insane. Not cerebral. Oh. Yeah. And then she uses Uptown Girls quote. That was that was her fitting. And then she got an applause from the audience.
Well, timed applause, right? Just like the in-person shows. Those are, what do they call that? Timed applause or scripted applause.
Oh, Bobby.
Yeah, that's a tough scene. It's a tough scene.
That was rough. That was rough. Oof. Okay, the last one I kind of put together, I meshed together 3 clips together because this rebuttal that I have for this isn't as, I don't think it's as seen on the surface. It's not as easy to rebut, but the reason why I put these 3 together is I want you guys to notice when people use Lamar Jackson's teammates against him. Well, actually, they're always using him against him. Let me rephrase that. When they play well, how they use that against him. And then when they play poorly and you point that out, it's an excuse. So there's cherry picking going on when it comes to when you're allowed to talk about what his teammates are doing.
He's going to fumble, he's going to miss a snap. He's going to mess up somewhere. Just on what he's done.
Yeah. So who made the mistake in the second half of the game? Lamar fumbled the ball in the second half of the game. Lamar Jackson dropped a pass that hit him in the chest in the second half of the game.
Fair, okay. So let's put on Mark Andrews, not the guy who gets the ball every snap.
We talk about the season.
Okay, so you see how he did that? So in that instance, his teammates it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yes, he has the ball every snap, but he also distributes the ball. And he can't catch the plays. He can't hold on to the fumbles. So notice, oh, okay, so we're not going to even acknowledge what Mark Andrews did because Lamar touches the ball every snap. So in this case, we can't talk about the teammates, right? But maybe in another case we can.
He had all of these weapons. Patrick Mahomes didn't have all these weapons. He had Zay Flowers. Hold on, let me finish. He had Zay Flowers. He had Likely. He had Mark Andrews. He had King Henry. He had Justin Hill. Who can you compare that to Patrick Mahomes right now?
So you're mentioning all these things, right? Lamar had the better weapons. Mahomes didn't.
Yeah.
And in the season, regular season, who outplayed the other player?
Well, if you want to be honest, you say Patrick Mahomes outplayed him. Because if it was that true, he would be in the number 1 seed. Was the Ravens the number 1 seed? No. Were they the number 1 seed?
Ravens had the worst defense in the NFL for 9 weeks.
Oh, so you're making excuses for your.
Okay. Did you see how he just flipped?
Yes, he did.
On one hand, he says, wait a minute, you have Zay Flowers, you have Mark Andrews, you have Isaiah Likely, and you have King Henry. He can use his good play against Lamar, but as soon as you bring up the defense being the 32nd pass defense through 10 weeks of the season or 9 weeks of the season, then it's an excuse. It's cherry picking non-stop, and there's one more.
Best player in the NFL.
Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Which one of those guys had to bring on the greatest running back of all time to their team to try and make it to the Super Bowl, and they still didn't make it to the Super Bowl? That was Lamar Jackson this year. They had to bring on Derrick Henry, basically the greatest running back of all time, and they could not even make it to the conference championship. You're saying to me, if Tom Brady added on a Derrick Henry, he would have gone undefeated yet again.
So I'm confused. A top 10 player of all time can't have a top teammate?
I'm saying when you're looking at the top 10 quarterbacks of all time,
so
you don't remember the running backs. Who was the running back on the Broncos
Terrell Davis.
when the Broncos won the Super Bowl?
So
Terrell
does
Davis.
Marvin Harrison with Peyton Manning count?
I mean, you could say that about Mark Andrews. You could say that about. I'm not talking about receivers. I'm talking about they brought on Derrick Henry to try and win a Super Bowl. They couldn't even make the conference championship with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You have Derrick Henry on your team, man.
Yeah, and this is why I said earlier, again, I'm not downplaying Derrick Henry, but the Ravens got to the AFC Championship game without Derrick Henry. But that's what they do. It's like when you have good team play, you use it against Lamar. If the teammates fail Lamar, it's an excuse. It's completely cherry picking and it's totally hypocritical. That was the last one.
Can we get to some
Quick
Can we
hit.
get some legitimate content now from
Yeah,
Prime?
get to Deion Sanders.
From somebody you grew up idolizing, from somebody who referred to you as preacher girl during your time in the organization and called you that, didn't he, last year on Radio Row, or maybe remembered who you were?
We used to talk about the Lord, he said to me last year. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And he walks around Radio Row just like he did this year with an entourage. You think Cam Newton's got an entourage? Wait till you see the way Coach Prime walks right down Radio Row. It was really something. But he joined the Dan Patrick Show and stuck his neck out there about this year's MVP race and how it ultimately was ended up decided last week on NFL Honors.
Won Lamar, and Lamar didn't win an MVP award that he should have won last night. So there's always going to be criticism when your gift is exemplified tremendously.
But Josh Allen runs.
Yeah, but you don't criticize him for running. You've never criticized him for running. You've criticized Lamar for running. That's a great analogy. I'm glad you said that.
No, I've criticized Josh Allen because he didn't take care of the football.
No, a lot of people have, yes.
I mean,
sure.
I can only speak for me.
Yes.
You're speaking in generalities. Lamar Jackson, I thought was going to win the MVP.
Thank you.
I thought he was going to win the MVP.
I did too.
Josh Allen is taking care of the football this year better, and I thought that was the
better than
biggest
Lamar?
knock. No, better for him.
Oh, okay. Both guys are tremendous. We can't put Josh down and lift Lamar up. But that MVP trophy, I thought, was Lamar's.
I would have given it to Saquon Barkley.
No.
Yeah.
Lamar. Well, because he's here. Would you have given it to him if he wasn't here?
He ran for 2,000 yards. He changed their offense.
Yeah, but that has been done before. A multitude of times.
We're never going to have an MVP be a running back
But
again.
Lamar, what he did, I forget his statistics, but his turnovers, what, he had 3 interceptions or something? 4 interceptions?
Yeah.
In what, 18, 19 games?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's absurd. Like, what he's doing is what everybody said he couldn't do. And he did it to another level, and it still wasn't glorified.
I spoke to so many players that echoed those sentiments right there from Deion last week. I mentioned on the show Cam Newton being one of them who was perplexed and almost took it personally that Lamar didn't win MVP. And then we haven't even had a chance to catch up on this yet, but I ran into Mark Ingram on my final night at a steakhouse. And, you and I met Mark on last year's Radio Row in Vegas. And I had a chance to, in 2019 and 2020, when I was working with the radio shows, I would do various gigs with him. And so we had a great chance to catch up. And so for a couple minutes, we were just chatting back and forth. And he went in that direction. He's like, my man L was snubbed. He was going off. And so, it's not just the Deion's throughout whether it's post or current player community that feel like this was just a total farce.
Deion Sanders, who's like the interception king, right, of his era, just like could go anywhere, could do anything. And this man is talking about how it's insane that Lamar Jackson only threw four touchdowns, four interceptions in 17 games.
Yep.
I mean, he knows how few that is. And then he talks about, this was the other thing with the MVP conversation, which bothered me because people kept saying, well, Allen's doing more than we expected, right? And yet nobody expected Lamar to put up 40-plus touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Nobody expected Lamar to put up 4,000 yards passing and 900 yards rushing. Nobody expected him to have the 4th best ever passer rating. Nobody expected that. No, I didn't hear a single soul make a prediction like that. In fact, the predictions I heard was that, okay, now they can hand it off to Derrick more. And yet Derrick did run a lot, almost 2,000. And yet Lamar's numbers kept going. The fact that he had Derrick Henry and his numbers even got better, despite all the production that Derrick had, is a reason to vote for him, not vote against him. So it's just funny to go from those haters clips to Deion Sanders or Micah Parsons earlier, and them just being like, he should have won it. He should have won it. And people are just holding on to like 2018 narratives, or just completely wrong narratives. But I will definitely put stock more in Deion's opinion.
Likewise. And yet after a historic transformative season, it feels downright wrong that Lamar walks away with not one accolade, right? It just doesn't feel right. That does not feel fair. But that's the reality of where things stand entering the offseason. And speaking of that, I guess draft season is upon us. The Ravens currently hold the 27th overall pick, so it will be a late evening for you and me, partner, coming up a few months' time in late April when the opening round of the draft kicks off. You see the Titans have the top overall pick. Cleveland is 2. On the back end, of course, now that the Super Bowl is in the rear view, it's Philly at 32, Kansas City 31, so on and so forth. But the Ravens currently sitting at a place there that they've kind of become all too familiar with in recent years. Those late 20 areas is where they've been living. They found Nate Wiggins last year. Prior to that, it was what?
I believe it was Kyle Hamilton and Linderbaum.
That was 2022. So why am I blanking on who 2023 was? I'm just blanking. It was
blanking.
Linderbaum and Hamilton, and somebody else help us out in the chat.
I'm looking it up now. This is crazy.
Zay, of course. Zay Flowers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zay Flowers was their first rounder in 2023.
Crazy that Zay's that young.
Right?
Right? Like, I was like, can't be Zay. I was thinking he was older than that.
Here we are sitting here like, who was 2023?
Yeah.
We can't even remember what we ate yesterday. Let's see if I can remember, though. 2021 was Bateman, if I'm not mistaken. 2020 was Dobbins in the second round.
It was Bateman and Owe.
Bateman and Owe. They had a dual. That's right. They had a dual open first rounder pair.
Well, now you're just quizzing yourself.
Yeah, now I'm just talking out loud. I just wanted to bring this up because
Well,
we do have free agency prior, but the draft season will be not far after.
Let me just say this for all the trenches people that want to see the Ravens build the trenches. I know I'm one of those people. Daniel Jeremiah tweets, last year at this time, I had potential starter grades on 12 defensive tackles. So these are starter grades. 12. Okay. Do you want to guess what it is up from 12?
12 last year. I've heard nothing but the fact that it's a deep class, which is what he's suggesting. Double?
You got it. This year I have 24.
No way.
Tackles with starter grades.
Wow.
Ridiculous amount of depth, he says, at the position in this draft class.
That's fantastic.
I mean, to have 24, Bobby, he's saying you can go for sure second day and find some starters. Now, I don't know how much of a gap there is between maybe some because we're looking for game wreckers, right? And these are defensive tackles. The Ravens do have Justin Madubuike. I keep doing that. Nnamdi Madubuike, sorry. And Travis Jones. But I do feel like edge rushers are pretty healthy too. A pretty healthy class. But I'm for sure going to be listening to Move the Sticks. And I want to hear their breakdown of some of these guys in the trenches.
It's that time of year where you and I start to kind of shift gears slowly but surely with our content consumption and how we're going to handle all of our plans coming up over the next few months as free agency looms, the new league year looms, draft season looms, and of course, 11 total picks that they're currently scheduled for right now throughout those 3 days come late April. So look forward to it. It's always a transition time, right? We got to kind of shift gears with the way that we put our content together. But like I said up the top, year round, daily, that's what you have to look forward to. More super chats have come in. Adarius Rochester showing us some love with $1 super chat. And Massey.
Mahomes has struggled every Super Bowl, yet he's back AFC Championship next season. AFC teams not learning and taking advantage like Eagles did. Not hopeful. Got to keep hitting them.
A third from Diamond Bull. Re-signing Hollywood Brown could be a move. Probably cost the same as the Bateman deal, maybe a little more. We need a deep threat or X. Could be a 2A or 2B.
I think the Ravens have deep threats, but they don't have an X. And Hollywood, I wouldn't say is an X. I think that Zay and actually Rashad are a little bit underrated with how they can get deep. But Zay, because they always have him in these jet motions or stuff like that, something close to the line of scrimmage. But he can go. He can get down there.
That he can. Darius Rochester. They don't realize Lamar is in the hardest division, and if he was in Josh's, playing the Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins, that's 6 free wins every year. #1 seed or even Mahomes. It's a weak division. Richard.
I just feel like the quote, I just feel like, is when someone doesn't have a single fact to go on. I'm sure he's referring to those Lamar haters.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That can be a crutch, though, that sometimes people use. But yeah, I'm with you, Asmodeus. Massey says Jalen is not a top 5 QB, yet he's been superb both Super Bowls. He's cool, calm, collected. Lamar hasn't been up until final Bills drive. Ravens should be dropping 30-plus in the playoffs like they do in the regular season. Jalen is currently enjoying his Disney World trip. That's what I've seen on social media. So Super Bowl MVP for him. And like we mentioned, the breaking coaching news today is that Philly's offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, who is so young, I'm pretty sure he's like 35 or 36 years old, is going to be the New Orleans Saints' next head coach. So that is that, which brings us to our patrons. Give a couple shout outs here to our first ever patrons who signed up to join the Vault Patreon community years ago at this point and have been with us ever since. So we want to say thank you to Patrick York. Want to say thank you to Sarah Field. And by the way, I just noticed this. It used to be Sarah Kendall. So was there a big here, Sarah? Sarah Kendall, now Sarah Field. Let us know. We want to make sure we give you our congratulations if that's the case. So thank you both. We appreciate the support that you give us. And if you guys are interested in doing the same, signing up to join the Vault Patreon community this football season, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/Ravens Vault podcast. All that information can be found in the show notes below.
I just looked up Kellen Moore. He is 36 years old, and this picture, Bobby, he looks like, I mean, he's young. He looks like a baby, like a man baby. I mean, he's young.
He's young.
Yeah,
He
I
is
mean,
young.
sometimes if you just have a brilliant mind, you know
And
how to
don't
do
look
something,
now.
you do it.
And don't
My
look
goodness.
now. This Nick Sirianni coaching tree, all of a sudden in the last few years, has brought 3 coordinators to head coaching opportunities. So that feels pretty significant for a guy that has been dragged, whether it's by Philly media, national media. I'm sure some of it's been warranted and deserving. He likes to jaw with fans. He's not your sort of even keel guy all the time. But one thing that he does, boy, he wins. And he's been to 2 Super Bowls, obviously, in the last 3 seasons. Something's working for Philadelphia. That's for sure.
Well, I do think Howie Roseman's doing a pretty good job himself with his draft. So, but one update, some people will like this, some people will hate this. But I have been in contact with one Emmanuel Acho. And we will have this MVP debate. Even though it's in the rearview mirror. He has lost his voice for the most part. I sent it to Bobby. He sent me a voice memo, and he sounded worse than you sounded, Bobby, because your main thing wasn't losing your voice, but you were sounding pretty bad there for a minute while you were sick. He sounded pretty bad. But so he's trying to talk less outside of his show, but we're trying to get him on this week. But I know there's a segment of people that just don't want him on here, and there's a segment that just want to see his debate. And I would like to debate him. Not try to dunk him, which is what we just saw in the Lamar haters. I'm not trying to debunk him. I'm trying to change his mind. And I don't think you change people's minds by dunking on him, but I would love to debate him.
Well, I think there's my theory, my prediction is if this ends up coming to fruition, which he seems like he's putting in plenty of effort to do so. My theory is that the universal takeaway from our audience will be similar to Mike Florio's interview last week, which was, he's not so bad, or like, oh, wow, that was insightful. That's my prediction because.
Well, I don't know, because I think part of the reason, I hear what you're saying, but I think part of the reason why they liked him is because he voted for Lamar for MVP and had, sound reasoning. Whereas Ach was going to come saying the opposite.
Well, there's going to be disagreement.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I think there's going to be like an appreciation for him coming on with us and getting in. Some are saying not a chance, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I got a couple more super chats. Dreams has been knocking on the door about this for a while now. I've seen some of these comments from last week, and Queon thinks that Jaden Higgins is the X wide receiver that the Ravens need. So he's already diving in to his player study ahead of the draft. And how about this? Richard is following up on something that we discussed yesterday. And he says, if you are truly, speaking to me, of course, if you're truly interested in YSA, there's a cocktail party going on this Saturday. Let me know. I'll send the details on Instagram.
Wait, is he talking about in DC, Virginia?
I got to wonder. Richard, where are you at? I know you're down in Virginia, but whereabouts are you looking here? And that's making me think about Valentine's Day plans, which I do not have, of course, on Friday. Do you? Do you have Valentine's Day plans?
We have some friends from Baltimore coming in.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. That'll be fun.
They're getting in Friday night. We often, although I don't know if I'm up for it, I told you I threw a Super Bowl party on Sunday, and there were a lot of people here. And my son, who's in high school, he had a little get together here on Saturday night. And then I had another smaller get together yesterday. And then I got these guests coming in on Friday. But we're thinking about having like a Valentine's Day, like couples party when our friends get in and have some other friends here around. So
nice.
Haven't buttoned it up yet, but we'll see. We'll definitely.
Yeah, you've been on a nice little hosting stretch here, having a good
old time.
I like having
people over. I like having people over. I like that our house is like a place that people want to be, for sure.
Yeah. It's the spot, especially for all the teenagers running around that neighborhood.
And I like the teenagers here rather than my kids elsewhere because I can keep an eye on things.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yep.
Yeah.
Richard clarified it is
so it is in
DC,
DC. Oof. All right.
which I've been known to obviously pop down to DC, be willing to drive an hour for dates. I've gone on a couple dates in DC over the last couple months. None of which have.
I would be so interested in hearing how your impression of an LDS singles get together.
Would I be welcome?
You would be, everybody's welcome. But he called it a cocktail party. There's obviously no alcohol.
That's what I was just saying. Like, what do you mean it's a cocktail party, Richard?
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. This is just what I'd say. And obviously we're done with football content. So if people need to go, you can go. I always just like to make that announcement for people. We don't have any more Ravens content to come. But so first of all, I'd be very interested to hear your impressions of it. Second of all, and I know you can have a good time without drinking. Like you can have a good time with or without it.
I prefer it.
Would you be welcome? Yes. I mean, I will just say this: when I would go to those, the just thought going into it is all the guys there are LDS, right? Because that's what you're looking for. Like if you're generally speaking, right, you're going to those, you're like, I'd love to marry somebody of my same faith, and so I don't know that you need to lead with, hey, I'm Bobby and I'm not LDS. I don't know that you need to do that. But if you go out with girls, you might want to say, and then you would need to have the proper expectations. Because if you're to date, LDS girls, and this isn't everybody, just like every faith, everybody lives it kind of like to their own lifestyle. But it would be likely that this girl doesn't drink alcohol, will not smoke cigars, right? Will not have sex until she's married. What else? Like, is going to go to church just about every Sunday and maybe more, and is committed and does a lot of service, in the, all that kind of stuff. And so as long as you know what you're getting, who you're going to be talking with and asking out on dates, they should probably know who, you are. Again, I don't think you have to lead with it, but most of them are expecting other LDS men to be there. Yeah. But you would definitely be welcome.
Richard, send the details over.
Okay.
Let me do some consideration.
I can't wait to hear about this.
Let me consider what's going on, where it is, what we have to potentially pull this off.
YSA is young single adult.
Yep.
People are asking in the chat.
I mean, what the heck? At this point, I got to be willing to take shots.
Here we go.
So, and it is Valentine's Day weekend. You never know. I do have a tentative, very tentative, because she's seems to be a little flaky on Hinge, but I do have a tentative date scheduled for tomorrow in DC. So I'm taking my shots, Sarah.
Hey, I cannot wait to hear about this. I'm gonna need text updates throughout the night too. I will require that.
Well, there's a lot that needs to happen in order for this to work. But
okay.
You're already listen to you. You're already saying it's.
I do think this is going to be pure comedy. I actually want you to go. I would love to hear your impressions of it.
Hey, you know me as well as my family does. I'd be open to do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
Let's do it. Dumb Odie with a $1.99 on the closing out of this show. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the love. Maybe there'll be more of these segments now that it's off season. We got more time. What the heck?
The chat's telling me I got to give you church lessons.
Yeah, I'll be ready. I'm the Catholic faith, but I might need a. No,
but there's a lot of overlap. Obviously, both believe in Jesus Christ and his atonement and what he does for, us and our sins and all of that. But there's also not overlap. So, but plenty of it. But that we've talked so much, right?
Yeah.
You're not going in blind because you know me. So
I'd be ready to go.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with Dennis Pitta last week. Dennis prepared, I told him, what did I tell him? Oh, because I mentioned you. And then what did Todd Heap tell me? Oh, I'm forgetting the conversation, but it was just funny because I was like trying to put 2 and 2 together for them that you and I are still working together. And his
wife wasn't there, was she?
Who? Which one?
Dennis Pitta's wife.
No, I didn't see her.
Have you ever met her?
No.
She's cool.
Is she?
You know who else was cool? Was Eric Weddle's wife. She was.
That doesn't surprise me. All 3 of those guys are just stand-ups.
Yeah.
Those 3 dudes are just so stand-up. So it was great catching up with them.
Here's some motivation for you Frank says, Bobby, I was a good Catholic boy who found a great LDS girl 40 years ago. 4 kids and 2 grandkids later, we live in a wonderful life.
Wow, Frank.
I would love to
Frank.
hear more about that.
Yeah, come on, Frank. Hit me up. I want the details on that. Maybe just maybe Richard is going to be rolling out the red carpet for me this weekend.
There we go.
Oh, boy. Well, we appreciate you guys for hanging around for this post segment. Over 2,400 of you concurrently watching on this Tuesday. It's off season. We're still with you the rest of the way. We look forward to it. We'll be back with a Wednesday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. And want to say thank you to Mando for the opportunity to partner up this offseason. You can go visit our unique link that's included in the show notes and also as a pinned comment if you want to sign up for a starter pack, and you can use our discount code for $5 off and plenty more. You can visit the show notes below to learn how to support the show this offseason if you're interested in doing so. And please, on the way out, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. All that would be really very much appreciated. And for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off. We'll be back with you in under 23 hours from right now on Wednesday. We look forward to it. And as always, thanks for joining us here inside.